So we're at State of OpenCon 2025, run by OpenUK, and here we have Kirsty McIntosh, who is the Head of Partnerships for Tech for Good Alliance.
Hi there, nice to be here.
So how's your day been so far?
It's been really good actually. The hall is really busy. There's lots of noise and energy around as usual, as there always is around open source. So it's been really nice. It's been nice to be back in London and meeting everybody.
And what do you do at the Tech for Good Alliance? Give us a brief overview.
So the Tech for Good Alliance is a UK-wide initiative and it provides a framework for corporates who provide their employees with volunteering time to actually put their skills to good use as well as their backs and their time. So we engage with large corporates, small to medium-sized enterprises as well, and provide them with the opportunities for them to deliver genuine social impact to charities who really need their help. My job as the Head of Partnerships is to find those corporate partners, but it's also to talk to the charities, talk to them about what's possible, and look for them to come forward with ideas about how we can help them improve their ability to do what they do. So improving their reach, improving their efficiency and their effectiveness.
And what types of companies have you worked with?
We engage with financial institutions like Lloyds Banking Group, with big consultancies like PwC. Pets at Home is one of our Tech for Good Alliance members. Any organisation that has a large tech makeup within it. I mean, most businesses do nowadays. There isn't an organisation out there that doesn't have some form of tech resource within its organisation. So any of these organisations where employees who have tech skills that they want to put to good use, want to put them to good use for the benefit of the third sector. So those are the kinds of people we deal with.
And can people sign up as a volunteer independently, or do you do this through companies?
Well, the Tech for Good Alliance is through companies. So if you're given volunteering time by your employer and you want to put it to good use, then the Tech for Good Alliance is a way of them engaging with that. Allows you to work together as a team, within your own organisation. Gives you the opportunity to possibly have either a client-facing or leadership role when you don't get the opportunity to do that in your job. But if it's not something that your boss wants to do or your employer wants to let you do within their time, you can sign up at our original organisation, which is the Scottish Tech Army, as an independent volunteer. And the only thing we ask for is a commitment to the time that you say you can give us. So if it's an hour a week or an hour a fortnight, that's fine, but turn up for the hour a fortnight that you say that you can give us, because we can find you something to do. The third sector has very little technology support and skills within it. It needs all the help it can get, because technology is one of the very few ways that the sector itself can do more of what it already has, and it's losing funding hand over fist at the same time as the demand for its services is rising.
So could you talk a bit about what led you to start contributing to these sort of charities? And you mentioned the Scottish Tech Alliance and and so how did you become involved with these organisations?
So the Scottish Tech Army, which is the original organisation, was a pandemic response initiative. It started literally on the 28th of April 2020. And it was an idea of two guys, one called Alistair Forbes, one called Pete Jaco, both tech entrepreneurs, both tech investors. And they knew that the third sector, the charity sector, was really struggling during the pandemic, particularly during the first lockdown. They couldn't serve any of the people who needed them by opening their front doors. They had to switch to a digital delivery, and they had no idea how to do it. And at the same time as that, there were a lot of tech professionals being put on the furlough scheme. And they were worried about them, frankly. It was a really tough time. There you are, sitting at home, disappearing down your laptop, wanting to contribute to the emergency, but you can't retrain as a nurse overnight. So it launched literally overnight on social media, and it just exploded. And for myself, I was running my own consultancy, which had nothing to do with technology at all. I have a technology background, but I'm really interested in innovation culture, and I ran a consultancy around that. And I just had to park it, when the pandemic started. Everybody was too busy innovating to worry about the culture around it. So it got put to one side. My husband was furloughed for 3 months, and he just went to our allotment and grew vegetables for 3 months because the weather was lovely, and that's what he did. My son, who lives in Portugal, had gone to Brazil with his partner, who is Brazilian, to visit her family for 2 weeks at the beginning of March 2020, and they shut the airspace. So he was stuck there for 4 months. Now, he had a 4-month beach holiday, but he was on the wrong continent for me. He was a long way from me, and I couldn't get him home. And I actually went down a kind of Twitter stroke X hellhole. You know, everything in the world was terrible. And then the Tech for Good initiative started up through the Scottish Tech Army, popped up on my LinkedIn feed. And because I'd worked for it in the technology industry, I was going, I must be able to do something useful in there. So I signed up, and it turned out I was volunteer number 3. But I was volunteer number 3 of 125 volunteers who signed up on the first day. And we are now at nearly 4,000 registered volunteers in the Scottish Tech Army. So these are independent volunteers who give their own time, evenings, weekends, breakfast, lunch, whatever, that kind of thing. But the Tech for Good Alliance is the UK-wide initiative that tries to put some shape and form around that. It takes real advantage of the technology skills that are available within the corporates and puts them to really good use to make sure that the third sector can take advantage of that for themselves.
You mentioned innovation culture. So how can team leaders or team managers promote innovation culture within their team? What types of things could they do?
Well, one of the really interesting tenets for me about innovation is that it thrives when the space for it is constrained. So if you say to somebody, we want you to come up with a good idea and just come back to us when you've had it, it doesn't really work. Or if you say, a bit like a hackathon idea, you've got 3 weeks to understand this problem and come forward with 2 or 3 ways in which you might solve that problem. It's one of the ways of actually really concentrating everybody's efforts. You know, understanding the problem is absolutely key to innovation. It's not really about saying we've got these building blocks, we've got to shape them into something. It's about saying, in the terms of things like the Tech for Good Alliance, in terms of the charity things, this charity cannot do what it wants to do because of these problems. So what are the solutions, the potential solutions to these problems? The constraints around those problems are money, time, skill. So where in all of that negativity is there a little something that means that you can actually do something amazing? And that for me is what innovation culture is about, is focus on the problem, understand what the difference would be if you could fix that problem, and then let the creativity flourish in the space in between.
So you mentioned how you have a lot of 4,000 even volunteers, and presumably they're each giving up a bit of their time. But the problem is, obviously, they have to collaborate and work together, right? So it's sort of like an idea of open source. People are collaborating and working together.
Yes.
So could you go through a bit of the challenges with having so many people work on potentially one thing, and also the benefits that on the other side that might bring?
Well, one of the interesting things about our organisation is it started as a virtual organisation, and 5 years later it's still a virtual organisation. We don't do meetups, we don't have in-person hackathons. Everything that we do in terms of the projects that we deliver for the charities is done virtually. So you have to learn to work slightly differently as a team. Some people come to the projects with lots of experience, lots of confidence. Others come to the team with very little experience. What they're trying to do is put some experience down on the LinkedIn profile that says, I did a thing with the skills I've learned, and use it as a means by which to get a job. But they lack a little bit of confidence and their ability to kind of grasp the problem and get on with it. So it's very difficult, in some ways, to assemble a team together that will work together. And for that, you really do need strong leadership. And it's not necessarily leadership experience. It's about somebody with the confidence, the understanding of the horizon that they're trying to reach, and a commitment to reaching it. And they can draw everybody together to kind of help them get there. So we have a Slack community, Protect for Good, Scottish Tech Army volunteers to be involved in. There's lots of different ways that they can engage in there, but we have proper processes that we've learned after 5 years what does and what doesn't work. And what we're trying to do is put together a combination of lots of experience with possibly lots of inexperience so that everybody has an opportunity to learn. One of the things with the Tech for Good Alliance and the corporate side is a software engineer may never get the opportunity to be client-facing in the company they work for, but they can take a leadership and client-facing role in a Tech for Good Alliance project by engaging directly with the charity. And they get a whole different set of experiences as a result of all of that. So sometimes they take a leadership role even though they might not be the most senior person in an organisation. So there's lots and lots of different ways that volunteering, skilled volunteering, works for the volunteer as well as for the charities that are asking for their help.
And when you try and find partners, right?
Yes.
And so you're almost like a saleswoman in that way.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yes. What are your biggest tips?
The biggest thing I can honestly give anybody is when you start out in any career, one of the most important parts of it is how you build your network. And one of the ways to build a network is to introduce people to other people for no personal gain, because nobody ever forgets the person who introduced them to somebody who made a difference to them. So networking is about being generous. It's not about hoarding it and keeping it for yourself. It is, the sooner you learn that building a network is a fundamental part of your ability to develop your career, the better. If you see it as a chore, it'll always be difficult. If you see going to LinkedIn on a Sunday night to make connections as networking, that's not it at all. It's about reading an article on LinkedIn about something that's got nothing to do with your background or your ambitions or anything else, but just finding it fascinating and sending a message to the person going, I thought that was fascinating because, and send them a connection request. And sometimes it might be 10 years before that comes back to you, but I cannot begin to tell you I am ancient. I have been working since I was 16 years old, and my network, I'm a natural networker, it's easy for me and I get that. But I've been doing this for a very, very long time, and the number of connections that I used when the Scottish Tech Army started from 20 years beforehand or 5 years beforehand, reaching out and saying, come and do this with me, come and help me with this, can you introduce me to so-and-so? It's an important part, absolutely. Networking is fundamental. The sales bit of it, you have to be passionate. I'm sure you can get that from me. I really believe in what we're doing. I know that we're making a difference. So being able to put forward that pitch that says, this is who we are, this is what we do, this is the difference you can make, kind of comes easy. But it's really interesting for me that when you're talking to somebody that you're already connected with about something entirely unrelated, how much more receptive they are to what you're saying, because they're interested in your storytelling. And if you can give examples of things in a conversation, it's a really great icebreaker. So networking is not just about standing in a room and hoping that somebody will let you in on the conversation. It's about constantly engaging with people, introducing people to each other. You know, just if you reached out to 10 people and 9 of them ignored you, but one of them didn't, that one could be anybody. It could be Bill Gates. You know, it could be anybody. It could be the future Bill Gates. It could be anybody, but they connected with you because you had something that was of interest to them, and they had something that was of interest to you, and it will bear fruit later on. It really is worth investing. Really is worth investing in.
And building on that, with the Tech for Good Alliance, is there anything that managers or employers don't really understand in terms of the benefit that they get by allowing their employees to spend time volunteering with you guys as opposed to sitting in the office doing whatever their job is to do?
There are lots of different reasons why getting involved in the Tech for Good Alliance is great for business, for the volunteers themselves, and for the charities. So for the charities, obviously, they get the end result of all of the hard work and the expertise. I always say to charities, they have access to more technological expertise than your average business, because the kind of people they're engaging with are absolutely at the top of their game. When you're dealing with corporates, they are employing the best of the best, and these people want to give their skills for good as well. From a learning and development perspective, as a volunteer, you get lots of opportunities to use your experience, if not necessarily your skills, or to use your skills to get more experience. So, as I said before, leadership opportunities, client-facing opportunities, a chance to kind of step into a role that you don't get the opportunity to step into at work, gives you an ability to see what it feels like. And then you can go back to your HR department and say, I actually quite like leadership, and I think I'm quite good at it, and I'd like to follow, more of a management role or a management expertise. So from a company perspective, team coherence, this is one of the really great ways of bringing a team together, perhaps when they haven't worked together before. So they're not on client-facing work, but it's a way of learning about all of their different behaviours and experiences and how to gel together as a team. It's another way of being able to do it. There's company branding involved in there as well. If volunteers through their CSR programs are having a good experience, they're talking about it with other people within their company. Makes it a nice place for people to kind of come and work at. There's some really interesting stats around companies that provide their employees with skilled volunteering opportunities have a higher net promoter score. So employees will recommend to their friends and their colleagues that their company is a good one to kind of come and work for. So there's employer brand going on there as well. And obviously from a brutal financial perspective, if you are bidding for government contracts and you need to demonstrate that you deliver social value as well as commercial value, then engaging with your tech talent and delivering genuine impact with the work that your staff are doing is a way of kind of referencing that for the benefit of winning the company new business. And you can talk to clients about the impact that you have at that level as well.
So we're at a conference all about open source technology. Why are you here?
Because anything that our Tech for Good Alliance members build is made available open source through us. So our corporates may build a tool for a charity, but they make it available to us. We undertake to maintain it and sustain it and support the charity who's received that to make sure they can use it to the best of their ability. But we will also take that tool and we will offer it to as many other similar charities as want it, and we will implement it with them as well. So it's very much an open source mentality. This is great tech. It should be shared with as many people as possible to make sure that they are able to deliver social value, social impact in the easiest way possible. Productivity in the third sector is a really difficult topic because it makes it sound like we're telling them that they're not working hard enough, and oh boy, are they working hard enough. But technology is one of the really brilliant ways that they can actually get freed up to do what they are experts in, which is to engage with human beings and do all the things that technology can't solve for them. So definitely open source all the way. We have amazing tools that people like PwC and Lloyds Banking Group have built for us that are being productized. We don't sell them. We do not charge charities for the work because it's delivered with pro bono labor. But what we need is an easily deployable product that can just be cookie cuttered and delivered to as many organizations as can benefit from it. So yes, open source is absolutely one of the main tenets of what we do.
It's fascinating. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, thank you for listening
to us.
Thank
really
you so much.
appreciate it.
Brilliant.
And if you want to learn anything more about the Tech for Good Alliance, we have links in the description down below.